Everyone, it's Lori, and I got asked by a subscriber to share my process for storing my images and using external hard drive or cloud services to safely protect my images, and then how to work with um, storage and how to process images using Lightroom. So I wanted to just give you my setup, and I want to make a full disclosure that there are so many ways to save and store your images. And I think every photographer has their own process based on their personal experience. So this is just my setup. I am sure it is far from perfect. It's probably got some flaws in it, but I've tried to make it really simple, and it has worked for me for several years. So to get started, first let me share that for storing all of my images and my Lightroom catalog, I use Lacy brand, and I've got the new 4 terabyte external hard drives. Now they're a little expensive, but once you have it, it's going to hold a lot of images, a lot of files. I only use these for my photography, so I do not use them for personal files or anything like that. I'm currently using 2. I have one for all my images, and then I have one for my photography business. So I keep videos, editing tools, courses that I teach, all of that information on a separate one. Now, I've used these for many, many years. So I have one that is very old that has a lightning port, and I've had to get it adapted. But I have used them because they're rugged. I normally just keep it sitting on my desktop, but if I'm traveling for more than a week, sometimes I like to take it with me so that I can add my images to it. Now, you can search B&H or Amazon. There are small portable hard drives that are great for if you want one just to take with you. And you can see they're very inexpensive and lightweight. So you can get one of these small portable. Some of them are more expensive than others. Here's a rugged mini. So this one's $99. It's just 2 terabytes. You've got some that are definitely more expensive, but you can get, this is an extreme portable. So one of these small $99, it's got 1 terabyte. This would just be if you're traveling and wanted one to kind of throw in your camera bag. So the Lacy has been, and now they have a 5 terabyte. I just have the 4. But I haven't had any issues with them. I've used them for over 10 years and find them to be really reliable. Now from there, I do back up with a cloud backup provider, and I use Backblaze. So Backblaze is, there is a fee monthly, but it's highly, highly rated. I had a photography friend recommend it to me. It's super easy to use. So I do recommend this provider. If you don't use Backblaze, there are other cloud backups. And what that does, it's going to back up really anything you want to put out there. So you can put your external drives, you can back up your hard drive, all of that. So that is recommended, especially if you have things that, of course, you don't want lost or taken. So the next thing is how I process all of that here in Lightroom. So the first thing is over here under Lightroom Classic, I go to Catalog Settings, and this is where you want to set up your catalog to go to your external drive. So mine you can see is Volumes, my Lacy 2, and that is where my catalog is stored, and you can see it. So it's really important. Now, if your catalog right now is on your hard drive, I'll show you in a minute how you can easily move that to an external drive. There's also file handling, and you've got some information there that's important to look at. But what is really important is when you actually go to import. So when you click import to bring your images in, you're going to get the pop-up menu, and over on the right side under file handling, you want to make sure that you select the external drive for your file handling. Now, in prior versions of Lightroom, it used to automatically go back to your hard drive sometime. So if you look right over here under destination, what you want to do is make sure that it is selecting your external drive. So I would want to make sure that it's selecting my Lacy, and then that I select the file that I want it to go to, which for me is 2022, and then I import by date. So just know sometimes it may jump back to your hard drive, but just make sure that it's going to whatever external drive you want it to go to. So that's a huge tip and lesson learned for me. Sometimes I get too fast and just click import and it's going to the wrong place. All right, so let's cancel out of that. And now I just want to talk briefly about what to do if you have your catalog. Maybe your catalog is still on your hard drive, or maybe it's on an old external drive and you want to move it. So if either of those, anytime you want to move your catalog, you want to do it here in Lightroom. Do not go to your files. So don't come over here and go to your file program and move the file. You want to come to Lightroom. So what you would do is you would go to your hard drive, you would find the file, and then you can actually drag the file to your new or your existing external drive. So it's pretty easy to do. If I wanted to move this picture file, I can click on it and then I can drag it. It's going to take a minute and I could actually move that file or folder. So that's really important to note. Now that's right here under folders. So you've got all of the things that are active on your computer in green. Now I also encourage you, if you are going to move images or files from one hard drive to another, I would still recommend that you do that here in Lightroom Classic, just to ensure that everything looks right and that you don't lose images. So if you've got images on an old drive and you want to move them over, you can come find the file and then move it. So I prefer to do all my file movement of my images here in Lightroom. So I'm going to minimize this folder. And next thing I want to show you is what I do when I export my images. So let's see if this will, it's being a little cranky today. It's cold out, so I think it's giving me a little bit of a hard time. Let me go to this image file. Okay, so when I've gone through and worked on my images, and let's say I've edited an image and I want to then use the image in some way. A couple things that I do next is I use the collections here in Lightroom. I use these like albums. I have them for travel. I have them for gardens. I have them for clients, variety. They're really easy. You click the plus sign to create one. So when I finish editing an image, I will then move it to whichever collection it applies. And the great thing is you can put an image in multiple collections. And all you have to do is drag the image and you can drop it in. So it's a great system. And that's the first thing I do once I'm going to cancel out of that, once I finish an image. Then I will export the image if I'm going to use it. So if I'm going to maybe send it to a customer, if I'm going to put it on my website, if I'm going to put it on social media, I will then come down and click export and export the image. Now, when I export, I'm also putting all those images on my external drive. So I would come over and make sure I select specific folder. And then from here, I am going to select where I want it to go, which again is my Lacey 2, my 2022 images. I may put it in a subfolder. I may rename it, whatever I'm going to do, but I always make sure I'm exporting my edited images to a folder. Now, it is not the same folder as my catalog or my imported images. So let's go over to my file system and I will show you on my Lacey. I have my 2022 file, which has got the images that are imported. All of my raw files come into this file. And that's when I do my import. When I export my images, they go to 2022 images, which I probably should call this exported. And I keep them by month as well as some different themes. So I have some photo submissions where I've submitted work to galleries or competitions, and those are listed. I have a few themed categories, but most everything is in by month, and then I'll have subfolders within those. So that's just what works for me. In prior years, I have done it some different ways. So in 2021, I actually had them by themes. So you can see I went to Hilton Head, I have my glacier images, I have gardens with all the files, I had flowers, and I had folders for all flower types. So it was pretty organized in 2021. And I have Chicago gardens. I've got all those images, various files. So I did it more by theme. This year, I went back to doing it by month. I'm not sure which I like better, but that's just how I do it. So these again are my exported images. My imported are in my 2022 file. Again, it goes by date order. So I've got those images there, and they are all saved and secure. So that's just a little bit about what works for me. I have modified and changed my system over the years, but and I have lost some images. I'll be honest, I'll go and have to try to find them. I don't know that any photographer is perfect on their file management system. It can be tricky. What I encourage you to do is start really simple. And one last tip, if you have a lot of external hard drives that are older, before you move all of them into your catalog, I would just ask yourself if you're really going to use those images and make sure that you want to bring them over. You can always plug them into your computer and have them back up to your cloud provider, but you may not want them all in your catalog. So just think about that before you decide to move them in. Do you really need those images in your catalog? You can always bring them in one at a time as you're getting ready to edit. So this was just a little bit about my process and the tools that I use. I hope you find it helpful. If you have questions or you're stuck, feel free to send me a question. I'll try to answer it. There are also amazing resources on YouTube, and I encourage you to Google your product and see what videos you can find. Thank you.